Welcome to the GirlBoss show, where we'll be talking about business, life, and everything beyond that. My name is Alexia, and I'm really excited because we've got some really amazing guests with me here today. So I'd like to just start off by introducing our first guest, which is Simone. And Simone is a pretty big star. So she is the queen of Hot Nuts Hamilton, and at just 16 years old owns Hot Nuts Hamilton franchise, and she has over 20 machines, and she started that when she was only 12 years old. So let's just really excited to be with you. And then we've got Tulsi, who is the queen of the Canterbury scene and is a STEM hero. So I'm so excited. We've got such a range of awesome guests today. And she created a very amazing fire detecting device which can detect fires, suppress fires, and retain fires and help people get out. And she has won many awards for that incredible invention. She also is a published author and started her very own cookbook with recipes from refugees to help support her work that she's doing in Christchurch, which is incredible. And we also have Sam.
Kia ora.
Founder of Method, a really big inspiration of mine. And she is just the queen of everything tech, everything media, and does work in VR, AR, AI. What do you not do? What initials do you not do?
Oh gosh, yeah.
All the initials.
All the buzzwords.
All the buzzwords
and tech buzzwords. We
really
do it all.
incredible projects. So we're so stoked. We've got just absolute dream team here today, like Destiny's Child, but we're all Beyonce, and I'm just so excited to get into it. So I really thought that the best way we could start off is by having our two wonderful young girl bosses to do a quick fire question section with our agony aunt, more mature girl boss here,
God, thanks,
Sam. She loves
I'm
it.
the same age as you guys.
Yeah, she is. She's one of us.
You are. You're one of us.
So, who would like to kick it off?
I can kick it off. Let's
Awesome.
get into it.
Yay.
So, question 1. If you could invite one woman out for coffee, living or dead, who would it be?
Who would it be? Malala Yousafzai, I reckon. Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Nobel Peace Prize winner, got shot by the Taliban and still pushing boundaries.
Oh
Amazing.
God, such a hard one to. I would say Catherine Bigelow or Meryl Streep. I think just in terms of Catherine, because of the experience that she's got in directing and probably making it in a male-dominated industry in terms of the directing, and Meryl Streep because she's done it for so long and she's had a lot of hurdles along the way. That would be, those would be, sort of
Fantastic.
those moments. Yeah.
Two, though. So
Yeah, sorry.
Oh. Top
I'll go with Catherine.
Okay,
You're
we'll let you
one.
get away
Sorry.
with it this time.
Yeah.
Okay, so question number 2. What would be one word you use to describe GirlBoss New Zealand?
GirlBoss New Zealand. Empowering.
Yeah.
Damn, you stole my word. Inspiring, probably. It's,
Definitely.
Inspiring.
definitely inspired. Yeah.
Sure.
Now, short question. Tea or coffee?
Chai tea, hands down.
Tea, hands down.
Chai tea or just any tea?
Just tea.
Just
Oh,
any tea.
English breakfast tea.
English breakfast.
Good call, good
I'm
call.
not a
Morning
tea
and night.
person personally, but we'll accept your answers.
So what are your biggest strengths?
Ability to persuade people. I think that's definitely helped me a lot. The ability to persuade people.
My natural charm? No.
Natural charm, good look. For sure.
Wait, look, I think, this sounds weird, and it's probably weird to kind of say this, but I feel like I can build relationships really well, and I think it's one of those things, one-on-one. I find, people really interesting. I think I have a good way to build rapport.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can attest to that.
Great, thanks, Lexi. Back me up. Yeah. Not the charm, but yeah.
Now,
No,
on the
definitely
flip
too.
side, what is your biggest weakness or something that you can improve on?
I think being very singular in my focus, so really around making sure that I don't stretch myself too thin and really narrowing down and really evaluating what is most important. That's something that I really focus on.
I have a good book for you that I'm reading right now, because that is also one of my
What book?
problems. It's called The One Thing, is I think the title, but it's
Cool.
all about the focus. I have a lot of weaknesses, but I think probably the biggest one that I would say is being a perfectionist. Definitely just that, trying to make everything perfect, and it's definitely something that I've been trying to stop. It's really hard to, though, when you're a perfectionist.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I
Even
definitely
the
feel
answer
that.
wasn't perfect, so I'm struggling.
In number 6, we have, what's the biggest learning experience you've had?
Biggest learning experience I've had starting GirlBoss at age 16. I think being a young entrepreneur, I'm 20 now, but definitely making those mistakes, and at only 16 years old, and starting, having these little mistakes. But then I think as I've grown, I've really realised that, those you can get over those things, and it really has been a huge growth experience for me.
And you learn from them.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
absolutely.
Totally, and I think mine would be something really similar, but I think the biggest learning for me is stuff that I haven't, starting method when we were young as well, but also not really realizing that was a learning experience. We kind of just dove into it. So I think a lot of it's not until you kind of look at it in hindsight and go, oh wow, that was something that I really learned from. But the kind of the motivation to just get into a situation and deal with it and do whatever you need to. It's not until you come out of it. I up until late last year, I'm still having these moments that we're learning. So, it doesn't matter how old you get. There's always these moments. So I kind of say, I don't know if I've had my biggest one yet. Maybe it's to come.
Oh, cool. Now, question number 7. What is a cause that is important to you personally?
Well, probably empowering women. Not that you'd guess by this title here, but I'm really passionate about women stepping into their power, getting paid what they deserve, going for a life that they want to lead. And really, I just get so inspired when I see women just doing what's right for them and actually defying stereotypes and creating change. I think that's just what lights me up, and even just talking about it now, just really being surrounded by awesome women like yourselves is what energizes me and what makes me get up every day.
Yeah, I mean, apart from sort of the charity causes that I get into, I'm going to put them aside for a while. And I hate being a parrot, but totally what Lexi said. I think for me, it's also looking at people who are women specifically, because I think they tend to do this a lot more than men, but everyone in general. I find that being an introvert, would you believe it? People in general who don't... who kind of always question what they're doing and maybe don't have the confidence, whereas some people might have the confidence but not the skills. So it's those people who kind of quietly excel. How can we make sure that they are recognised for those efforts? And so champion the people who are like introverts, who are actually amazing and could be amazing leaders and bosses. How can we get more of them? And actually, there are more women in that, because a lot more men are more naturally confident or can fake it. So how can we do a bit more of that?
Yeah, I love that. Changing the definition of what a leader looks like.
Yeah,
It's so important.
Yeah.
You're very...
So Alexia, I think I might know what your answer to this one is, but is there a song that has become your anthem?
Song that's become my anthem. Okay, well, this is what I wanted the theme song to this to be, which is "I Feel Like a Woman" by Shania Twain. That is the jam of my moment. Anytime someone passes me like the aux chord, I'm like, that's what we play. It's a party starter. It is a party starter, Sam.
Yeah.
You're pulling a face. She did not want that as a theme song.
No, well, I'm just trying to think. I don't know if I've got one anthem or not.
An album?
Oh my God, I will say I love Lana Del Rey's music, and maybe a lot of them could act, but as anthems, but a lot of them could also be very angry and moody. Yeah, look, I don't have one. I've never thought about it, but I need to think about it. It's like, what's that song that's going to play when I go up to get my Academy Award?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I need to think of
hype
that.
you
Yeah,
up.
thought.
Yeah, I'll just play Shania Twain for you.
No, yeah, definitely not.
If you can't think of
Shania
one,
Twain,
that's what I'll do.
You're actually looking a bit Shania Twain.
Yeah,
right
thank
now.
you. Thank you. I'm channeling it today.
Nice. Okay, next question. What book did you most recently finish and enjoy it?
Oh, what book did
I finished one last night actually, and this is one of those things where I've said to myself I need to read more. I love reading, but I get through a year and I'm like, I haven't picked up a book. So over summer I read a lot of books, and I've just finished Stephen King's The Outsider, which is suspense, a little bit of horror thrown in there. And in between reading one book, I'm also reading that One Thing book.
Yeah.
So already failing at it.
Oh, it's how it goes. Okay, probably The Defining Decade by Meg J. Absolutely fantastic book. It's really around how our 20s are the defining decade of our life. And it's really interesting. She looks, she's like, really? Yeah. But really it looks at across like love and business and career, and really does see that the decisions we make when 20 have such an exponential effect across our entire lives. And I found it really empowering as a 20-year-old to read this book. So I definitely
No, it's good to know when you're just starting out in the 20s.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
So what's one city you've always dreamed of travelling to? Hamilton?
Of course.
One city that I've always dreamed of travelling to, I really want to, I mean, I'm half Greek, so I feel a little bit biased here, but definitely to explore more through Greece and through my homeland, and I think that's where I really want to spend some time.
All of them, but I think St. Petersburg has a very, it looks amazing. Haven't been there because it's kind of the second tier cities. You know, when you think about traveling to Europe, you do the usual, and I'm like, I need to go somewhere like that, and that's just there, kind of waiting.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Now, next question. What is something you always travel with that you can probably take to your dream destination?
One Above drink, for sure.
A good brand placement there.
And it sponsors me.
Mine would be my Sony headphones. No, but look, I tell you what, noise cancelling headphones has saved my life on trips. I'm actually able to drown out so much, and good ones make the massivest difference. Is that a word? Massivest?
The biggest.
Yeah, it is now.
This is secretly an advertisement for noise cancelling headphones. In case you didn't know.
Sony. No.
So what's the best thing that's happened to you this year, last year, seeing that it's
2020, best thing that's happened is what's happening right now, which is the GirlBoss Advantage program, and these two amazing young women are on it. So yeah, definitely the GirlBoss Advantage program.
Wow, 2020, well, it's kind of just really started. So the best thing that's happened to me so far is actually taking a bit more time out to do things like read and not work all night. I know that will change very quickly. And to be honest, I guess if I could say what I'm looking forward to is one of the things is really honing down on that one thing, the focus for method. You know, we do tend to do a lot, and it's starting to look at how can we really take this to the next level.
Awesome.
Yeah. Cool. Now, we have a bit of a throwback. What did you want to do with your life at age 12?
Be a vet.
I actually wanted to be a copywriter.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
And advertising, yeah. So not too far. Yeah.
So what's one word you would use to describe method?
Amazing.
Or inspiring. That's one word with a hyphen.
Yeah, I love that.
Cool. Now, 3 words that define you.
Passionate. I'm excited to be here. Passionate, excited, and future focused. Visionary. Yeah, that was 4.
Curious. I think that's what keeps me on my toes. I'm always interested in what's next, what's happening, you know. 3 words. Creative, yes.
Definitely creative.
Oh my God, yes. Creative, curious, and
cool.
Probably a little bit of a control freak. I don't want that to be the third word, but
Is that from the perfectionist side of you?
I prefer cool.
Yeah.
So let's go with that.
Definitely.
What's your mantra?
Define stereotypes, creating change.
I don't have a mantra. I think the thing is, I had a mantra for last year, so if that helps. And I think it's, I got it out of a fortune cookie. Would you believe it? But it was at really the right time. And it was about, taking risks and being bold. And so 2019 was about doing that and being bold and just, again, that confidence, and yeah. Fortune cookies. Yes. Yeah.
Delicious.
That's where my mantras from.
Okay, moving on. What is something that our society can improve on, according to you?
More support for female entrepreneurs. Currently only
Definitely.
3% of VC funding goes to female-led startups, so that needs to change.
I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. It's about finding those, what people might not think is natural leaders, people who I think the world needs so much more of, kind of those natural introverts, people who aren't all rah-rah, but people who can actually make a change and make a difference, not just by being the loudest voice. I think all of society could do with so many more people like that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
And have people like that, but actually promoting people like that, championing them and following them and supporting them.
Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how willing are you to take risks?
9.1.
10. Wait,
She just had to up
no,
it.
that's totally 1 to 10. Yeah,
10. I'll lock it in. That was confident.
let's just do it.
Yeah.
10.
Okay, next question. What's your favourite movie character? It's a bit chill question.
Favorite movie character? I love that Legally Blonde movie. I just love that.
Yeah.
What's the name of the key character?
Elle.
Elle from Legally
Elle,
Blonde.
yeah.
Yeah. Lock it in.
Princess Leia. We've also just been recently watching Star Wars with my son, and I'm really amazed at not only is she an amazingly strong character, but actually doing it back then in the 70s, and for George Lucas and, for everyone to do that is actually quite amazing. And watching her now, I think what saddens me a little bit is that she's still seen as one of our strongest female characters. It's back in the 70s, I still look at it and go, this is, I know there's more now, but to be there in that age was amazing.
Yeah, definitely a feat. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, team. Now I've got to throw it back to these two, and we can also chime in. I want to know, what is a boss moment that you've had recently? So, fast, feisty. What is a boss moment?
So, as Alexias told you, with help of my team, I designed a device that would help reduce house fires and the risks around it. And it was for a competition actually called the Paradigm Challenge. And initially it was only open to American students, so students in America. But I changed that. I emailed the CEO of the Project Paradigm, Jeff Richardson, great guy, and he listened. And it was around 40 odd emails to and fro, and then at the end of that I was like, I actually want to talk to you on the phone, is that possible? And he was like, yeah, sure. So over that phone call I had to convince him to make it global so that my team could take part, and because I was already so invested in the competition that I had to do it. It was just so engaging. And the funny thing is that we ended up winning the competition and got to meet him in person. So,
yes.
yeah.
And how many teams entered?
All across the world. So I can't remember, but
10,000.
heaps, over
Just say
1,000
10,000.
definitely.
Yeah. Wow.
It's a
Exceptional.
really good learning from that, because I think
Yeah.
the thing is, a lot of times people look at success and go, oh my God, you did this amazing thing, and it's an overnight success, right? But you're talking about persistence and tenacity, and how much of business is all about just keep trying. And so something like that, it does take a few goes sometimes.
Yeah.
You might get lucky and do it the one-off, but I think that's the thing that people forget. Or, entrepreneurs go into something and people go, oh yeah, that must be really easy. You must have just got that. But actually it takes a lot of time, right?
Yeah, it's important to know that it's not just overnight success. You have to keep on punching until you punch something that you can make your way.
Well, there's a really good saying, right? It's taken me 13 years to be an overnight success or something.
Yeah.
It's that's so true, right?
I love that.
Definitely.
Simone,
So
what's your boss moment?
So obviously I have the hot nut spinning machines. People pop coins in there, so I get tons of coins going to the bank with $101 coins. $100, $2 coins. So I've decided I don't need to do that anymore. So I've got my brother, con him into helping me. So so he lugs all the coins to the bank.
Good.
And he's unpaid, but yeah, he
That's
gets
right.
lunch out of
my
it.
God.
So
Employment
Perfect.
issue.
I mean,
it's all about
She's a business
delegation.
woman, you know?
exactly. And he's willing to do it for lunch, so you know, I'll do it. But a funny story is the reference that he gives is hot nuts. So just imagine this teenage boy going in there, hot nuts. Yeah, so that's basically my.
$100 coins and saying hot nuts.
So
what he's
they don't know
up
where
to.
that's from, but yeah. So that's
that.
my literal boss moment.
But
Yeah.
I mean, that's another really good learning, right? Delegation. That's something that I really struggle with, being a perfectionist. But again, you can't really get by without the people around you. And, you know, that focus on what you want to do and being able to delegate, it's a hard thing to learn. So well done for doing it and starting it now. I still have trouble with it.
Do you have a boss moment?
Every day is a boss moment. Yes, telling my son yesterday that he was watching too much TV.
That is a boss moment.
You
Did
know
that go
what?
down well?
Yeah.
I have to tell my brother that
Well, see,
sometimes.
there's so many different ways. Like I can look at, you know, I get really excited when I can make a new connection and have yes, we want to talk and look at, you know, kind of pitch an idea through to someone, down to basically also just sometimes talking to my team, you know, being able to connect with someone and kind of go, oh, I got something out of them that maybe I wouldn't have if I hadn't taken this time out. And I think that links to everything about being a great boss, is being able to connect with people, you know, and there's ups and downs with the team as well. So having that time, which is really hard to sometimes do. But even today, like, it was my first full day back in the office because I'm doing school holiday duty, and it was just I don't have the actual time for it. But going on and going, hey, how was your break? And spending that time with people, I think, makes a really good leader as well, as making sure that everyone's happy around you, because that'll actually help your job be easier longer term.
Love that.
Yeah.
Super good. Okay, so we've got now a new section, which is one girl boss to another mentoring section. So how it's going to work is these two wonderful young women are going to discuss some challenges that they've had in their business, and we're going to mentor them live on air and see if we can help solve them.
Cool.
So I'll go first.
Yes, for sure.
So Alexia, this is a question for you.
Cool.
So when I bought the Hot Nuts vending machine business, I was only 12, and most of the machines are in pubs and clubs. So when I walk in there, they look at me funny, and they sort of judge me, like, what is she doing in here? And they sort of underestimate me. So what is your experience with that, and how have you overcome people underestimating you just because you're young?
That is such a valid question. You know, being a young entrepreneur myself, you've got to constantly reframe that narrative of what a successful person looks like, and that it can be someone that is young. What I've really found is just full on embracing it. So in every meeting, I'm just like walking in there. I'm like, I started when I was 16. I'm 20 now. So I think, you know, really embracing that and flipping it into a strength is one of the most powerful things we can do to reclaim our narrative. So, you know, and sometimes if you get the odd comment, I just like to sort of flip it back and throw it back to them. You know, I mean, I didn't go to university. I worked on GirlBoss full time since leaving school, and you know, someone kind of says a little comment like, "Oh, did you go to university, or what degree do you have?" And I've got a master's and I've got a PhD. I just like to sort of flip it around, you know, and sort of just say, "Oh, well, that's really interesting. And what do you think we can do to really make this cool and relevant?" And just like reference some sort of meme or something. Just to just kind of flip it around to them. Just maybe drop the word TikTok. That's a word to
Yes.
that is a word to scare anyone over the age of like 17.
Start
right?
doing the TikTok
20.
dances.
Yeah. They're like, okay, I'm out. This is outside my comfort zone. Just flip it over to them and make them feel a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean,
Reclaim your
I've had
narrative.
something similar. Maybe not when I was 12, but, you know, I was always younger, underestimated. And I think it's really interesting. I don't think it's the opposite to what you did, but to me, I kind of used that. It was like, okay, well, that's what you think. This is who I really am. And not gone out of my way to prove it, but just like this is what I'm doing, and then kind of turn that idea around for them and go, oh, actually, wait, I totally underestimated her. You know, so just prove that by just doing what I do naturally. So, I mean, I hate that as well. I know when I was, you know, hunting for jobs and people like, oh, but you're too young. And it's like, does that actually matter? Because I can do the job, you know? Yeah.
We can use it as a strength.
Definitely.
Yeah, because I think sometimes that surprise is also kind of like, oh, right, crap, I didn't realise that we were actually, you know.
Capable of doing that.
Yes, yeah.
No, I really enjoy like proving people wrong.
That's probably where I'm coming from. Yeah, that's probably what it is.
Love it.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah. So I've got a question directed to Sam. I've always had this experience at family gatherings where I get asked, what do you want to do next? What are you doing next year? Or like, what are you doing this year, 2020? And I say, well, I'm really interested in business. I want to start a business in the future. So I want to study commerce. And they always come back to me and say, oh, I thought you were going to do engineering. And I was like, no, I'm really interested in business. And they still kind of push that engineering onto me, like, oh, yeah, engineering, don't you want to be a doctor? So have you ever struggled with that or had someone come up to you and say that to like put you off track? And how did you deal with that to come here?
I mean, honestly, I still get that every day, right? You still have people kind of going, oh, but why don't you look at this and why don't you look at that? And I think the thing is, I guess the thing is, it's kind of one of those conversations you have with someone where you don't want to be looking like you're annoyed every time someone says that, because they're naturally asking, right? And it's like, well, this is why I'm interested in commerce. You don't have to justify yourself. It's more about explaining why you're so passionate about it. And at the end of the day, be like, well, that's not for me. You know, like, I think the thing is, oh my God, I do this too much, but we care too much about what other people think. And we can't help that. But at the end of the day, you're doing it, right? Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a creative tech person who's I'm not going to say my age, but and look,
20.
we didn't have over 40 but we kind of it was kind of natural in my space to kind of look at being a lawyer and all of that sort of stuff, and so when I said copyright, it was kind of like, oh, okay, that's a phase sort of thing. I think stick to your guns and don't feel like you ever have to justify your choices. I think we need to stop thinking like that, and just have that conversation and kind of go, well, what did you study and why did you study it? Because when you turn it around to talk to someone else about what they're interested in, they might get a little bit of that, oh, okay, I can kind of see.
They'll probably start to understand why I have my reasons and they have theirs.
Exactly, because everyone's probably gone through a similar situation, right?
Yeah, definitely. Great advice.
Okay, so I have a question for Sam as well. So my dad inspires me. He's taught me from a young age about finance, money, saving. He's a bit of an entrepreneur himself. So I'm just wondering, who's inspired you? Has anyone influenced you to do what you've done, or just helped you along the way?
I think I'm a bit of a sponge. So as I've grown up, I think I've had a lot of different people. I mean, I grew up in Fiji, and while I could have been a very traditional sort of Indian family, followed that path, my parents were quite modern. Mum studied and worked, and when a lot of women her age and her family didn't. My dad, always, we were very we had to be very academic, but at the same time he was doing quite different things, and he was very much about, it wasn't like I wasn't a boy, so I couldn't do these things. We were just brought up like, I was playing tennis, I was doing what, maybe back then would have seemed more natural boy things. But so I think actually, and it wasn't until later in life that I realized that my parents have probably, unfortunately for them, formed me into this independent child who, has her own mind and, speaks her mind, and I love that, and as well as teachers who've influenced me over the years, a lot of different teachers for different reasons, and a couple of bosses that I've had as well, some who actually weren't amazing bosses, but that's also taught me, how to be a better leader. Yeah.
Now, I've got a question that's kind of directed to both of you. I suffer of crippling self-doubt. I have to check an email at least 3 times before I send it. I have to check an assignment at least 5 times before I press send on the email.
Same.
So I wanted to ask you, how do you deal with it? Because I'd love to know.
Actually, me too. So we're listening.
Dealing with self-doubt, I mean, that is something, I think it's around constantly checking in with yourself. And I think for me, it's not, in my journey, it's something that has not necessarily gone away, but I've just become more conscious about pushing through it. So I've just made the conscious decision around, will I let my fear limit my contribution to the world? And so sometimes that's the only thing that allows me to push through that fear, is by saying, am I going to decide today that I'm going to contribute less to the world, that I'm not going to help make a difference in the causes that I'm passionate about, because I've decided that my own fear and I even classify it as my own ego, because it helps sort of make it more objective for me, is am I going to let that rule my life? And I often also, I'm really driven by a really strong feminist belief. So I'm like, I'm just going to do it to show that women can. So I sometimes just even like that strong sort of feminist belief just kind of pushes and drives me too. But, you know, it's a constant challenge. But I think just embracing the feeling and just going, making that decision that it's not going to stop you. And that even though you've got that fear and you've got that doubt, you're going to still raise your hand. You're still going to go in that meeting. You're still going to make your ask.
Yeah, I mean, I would say use it. You know, like it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's like getting nervous before you go and do a big talk. Actually, a little bit of that nervousness, like it or not, helps you. You know, you'll keep learning. If that's what you're always doing is checking yourself. I think the other thing I've realized, because I am naturally not a very confident person in myself, I'm there great with being able to boost other people up, you know, but I have the most self-doubt in myself. I'm surprised I'm sitting here, to be honest, you know, every day. So I think the thing is to kind of also, and I've only started doing this again, for introverted people this is a bit harder, but building a network of really great supportive people around you. For a long time I didn't have women around me supportive, and not because of them, but because I didn't seek any, because, you know, traditionally in the world that we've come in from creative and advertising, it's mainly male driven. So a lot of things we'd go to, there were mainly males, and there are not a lot of women in the space. So I've looked outside of the industry and kind of gone, actually, there are a lot of amazing women and men who we can network with, who help become our support network. Like Lexi is also one of my people, I guess, you know. So having those people around you and kind of going, actually, we do need that little pat on the back sometimes from other people, because we don't do it very well ourselves. Yeah.
That's so valid.
Cool.
Simone, do you have a question?
So I was just sort of directed at both of you. I struggle with work-life balance. So I have school and then got a job. I've got 3 jobs, and then I've also got the hot nuts business. So I find it hard to manage my time, and I tend to overcommit myself. So I just wondering how you guys balance that out.
When you find out, let me know.
It's going to be a while.
Till 12:30, don't get much sleep, and I don't.
The truths of life.
No, damn it.
I think having someone that can really hold you to account is crucial here. So someone in your life that you trust, and it could be your mum, it could be someone in your family, your friends, who's just like, okay, Simone, enough is enough, you know. And I think if they keep holding you to account, you'll still soon start to recognize it within yourself, and actually really tune into your body and what you need. And also, I think. I'm really a big fan of scheduling and planning, because I think often this feeling of being overwhelmed is because we're not sure around what a time commitment on something will be. So when you plan, sometimes I feel by planning your days and planning your next steps, it actually frees you.
Yeah, I mean, planning's a big one, you know, but also I think the delegation thing comes back into it.
Yeah, that's true.
And I use this with my team sometimes, but is anyone going to die? At the end of the day, how badly, if you drop something, I mean, I do this constantly to myself, and it is hard because it's the overcommitment thing. It's actually you going, oh, yes, but I could do that, and I can help them, and I could fit this in, and kind of starting to, one thing, I'll share that book around maybe. Because that might be
definitely.
Yeah, and focus on one thing at a time. And I think the thing is, I used to think, and I probably still think, I'm a really good multitasker. But actually, this is what it's about: is actually being able to focus and getting that one thing done at a time. You'll probably find that you might have a little bit more time at the end of the day. You know. I always find it really hard to say no to people when they ask me to do stuff, because I feel like if
if you're trusting me to do this for you, I have to do it for you.
Like, can you do the extra shift? Yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah. But then when it actually all weighs on to you together, you realise that you'd rather do a better job at a few things rather than put low effort into it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And someone said this to me once. I don't know how much I agree with it, but this is my perfectionism thing. But better done than perfect in some instances as well.
In some
so,
cases,
in some cases, sometimes you just, you need to get that. Yeah, get something
and feeling
done.
comfortable saying no is key.
I was just going to say.
Yeah, and like there's a phrase, and I actually learned this from Robert, and he told me this phrase, and he said, "I'm a bit overcommitted at the moment, but please reach out to me at a later time because I'd love to be involved at a later time."
Yep.
And I just think that it's just having little phrases up your sleeve, so that when you put on the spot, you can say, "Look, I'd love to be involved with this, but I'm overcommitted at this moment."
I actually think my mantra for this year, because I was like, I need to say no more often. I've already said that to myself. I need to say no to more of these things that we get asked to do. The other thing is also, I think, looking at delegation a different way, but asking people for help. People actually really love being asked for help. Yeah. That's why you're saying yes to things, right? So if you do the same to other people, it's like, oh, can you help me? Not a lot of people will say no if they've got the time, unless we're telling them to say no. Do you know what I mean? People
say no to everyone but us.
Who's around you? Who's your network? Who's your community that you can go to and get them to help you with stuff? Yeah.
Super valid.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, team. So what I thought is I really want to discuss around the theme of finding a tribe and a community. So we've got an awesome woman power tribe right here in this room. But have we always felt like we've found our tribe in our community? It's been times when we've felt isolated, we've felt like the odd one out. And if so, do we have any strategies around what we can do in that situation? Who wants to kick us off?
I reckon just own yourself. Like, if you're the only one in the class or you're the only girl, just own it. Just, go for gold. Do what you want to do. Don't feel like anyone else is going to inhibit you from doing that. Just because there's someone sitting next to you that's maybe a male or whatever, doesn't mean they're any better than you. So, just go for it.
Yeah, I definitely feel the same. Like, in school, I always used to go to these, like, coding competitions or there were these, like, Lego Mindstorm competitions. And I was usually, like, the only girl there. And it was kind of, at times, I felt intimidated by thinking that the other people knew more than me. But then I realised that we're all at the same stage and no one's any better than me, and it's better to work together with them, like rather than just feeling like you're the odd one out and making yourself kind of isolated.
I mean, as I said earlier, I kind of felt like there wasn't any networks and communities around a lot of what I was doing. Everything I was doing was sort of, I think because I run with the flow a little bit sometimes, which is really weird for someone who's so organised and a bit of a control freak. It's just, stuff's happening, I'm just get on with it. So for a long time, I didn't really think about community. And it wasn't until kind of you get into this sort of, you kind of go, well, actually, I'm missing that. It's not until you start talking to people that you realise that, oh, I kind of, maybe I need more of this, and I think look outside your industry. You don't have to be just in your industry because, like what you guys have said, we will come here together and we're all doing different things, but there's a lot of common, isn't there? A lot of common ground with how we're kind of going through this and different challenges you face. So I talk to people all the time in different industries and goes, oh yeah, we've got a very similar issue, or our companies sound very similar, but they're not, So I think trying to go outside of that, sometimes we try and find like for like, and actually it's better to find someone who can kind of bounce ideas off. But I can't stress how important it is to start finding that community, your people, and I think making age not a barrier, like I love this. And I think more of this should happen, and we shouldn't be closed off about genders or ages and all of that,
Absolutely.
One day in a world, it'll be,
We'll be creating it.
Yeah, we'll be creating that world.
Okay, team, best risk you have taken, quick fire, what do we think? Best risk we've ever taken?
Oh.
For me, it would have been in year 9 deciding, okay, I'm going to invest my money into this business, all this capital. Don't know if it's going to go, don't know if it's going to fail, but went for it. Glad I went for it. But yeah. So.
And you spotted on Trade Me, right?
Yeah.
So you just were like browsing one day?
Just browsing. Not even old enough to use Trade Me, but it's okay using mum's account. So yeah, so I was just scrolling through Trade Me, saw it, like, this is me. This is a bit of me. So asked Dad. Dad was like, if you want to go for it, but just know it's your money that you're investing, so your choice. But yeah, I'm so glad that I went for it.
That's amazing.
Cool. I think one of the biggest risks I've taken is going to one competition, finding out that there's only guys there, I'm the only girl, and then still signing up for the next one, and being confident enough to go there and express myself and like do what I do best, and just taking that risk and knowing my gut and knowing that if I push myself into these new like environments, I can grow and do better.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, like what you were saying, it's almost like taking yourself out of the environment and going, what's best for me? Yeah. Like, kind of forgetting who else is there, what else is happening. It's like, do I want to do this? What am I going to gain from this? Best risk for me was starting up Method. 16 years later, it turned out to be a pretty good risk. So, we just kind of dived in. We were early 20s, we're like, don't know what we're doing, but we love what we do. We want to change the world. Let's start. Yeah.
Yay. We're all changing the world. I love that. Okay, team. What about is tall poppy syndrome? Now, we live in New Zealand. That is something that unfortunately happens. Has that been something that any of you have dealt with? And if so, how have you overcome it? Do you want to kick us off then, Sam?
Yeah, sure. Look, I think the thing is, it still happens, and dealing with it, I think the thing is, what I've probably done in the past probably hasn't dealt with is I probably tried to apologize for it without actually knowing that I'm apologizing for it, like always justifying. Oh no, because we've got this because, and actually, I think we need to start thinking so much more confidently. Yeah. It's not until you start to travel in terms of business and kind of spend a lot more time in places like even Australia, the US, and you see how people there talk about themselves. I think there's a saying in the New Zealand industry about how we kind of, I don't know the exact wording, but we talk about ourselves and we're always going to be 100 times better than we are. If it's an American, they'll be 50% of what they are. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like 200%. And New Zealanders do that, and that's actually what makes us stand out internationally. So everyone loves working with us because they know we're going to over deliver. That's what we do, right? We over deliver. But I think the thing is we need to start embracing some of what we do best and how amazing we are as individuals, as industries, and as companies, especially
and stop
now.
Apologizing.
Yes,
that's so valid. I've noticed recently, I've become so aware of how often we women over apologize. Yeah. So we walk into a room, go, oh, sorry, just one thing. Oh, sorry to interrupt. Oh, sorry, at the start of an email. And so it's like maybe that's my new challenge of 2020 is actually limiting the amount of times I say sorry. And now that you're aware of this, you're gonna spot it everywhere.
So you know how you said before you check your emails 3 times? I do too, but what I make sure I do is I go through and take out any sorries and change them, because I still say, and it's like, well, no, why am I sorry? Why? So I change it, and you can still be polite, because I think we think it's a nice polite thing to do, like, oh, sorry, but it's like, just get rid of the sorry.
And sometimes I've decided to swap my sorries for thank you. So instead of saying sorry for being late, or well, actually that is quite a valid one, but sometimes you're not even late, but saying thank you for your patience, just flipping it, and then actually people then feel actually more appreciated than starting off with a sorry.
Yeah, it's taking the focus off yourself, right?
Yeah. And it's actually recognizing their feeling.
And the tall poppy thing, because we work with clients a lot, and there are a lot of comments sometimes about types of cars and all of that sort of things. It's like, well, would you want to work with someone who's successful or someone who's not? So I think the thing is that at the end of the day, if you're successful, your client will be too, or whoever you're working will be too, right? So
yeah, one thing I've really noticed around tall poppy is definitely I've had to change my mindset. I think often, when I was younger, I was rewarded for being a very good girl. Yeah. Like I was one person that, cared about others, and so and I think what's interesting is that I put a lot of my value on that other people liked me. I think that's a very common thing for us as young women to do. And what I've noticed is that I have to stop putting so much weight on that and that everyone likes me, because I've found that the more I've gone along in my career, that there's just something that I can't control, and that there will be people out there. Yep. And it's been a hard thing, but I think we as women, we can kind of push through that, and if we find our tribe, and we've got an amazing tribe right here in the room, we can push through that.
I think the other word, because I'm the same. Look, I still want people to like me. I want all of you to love me.
We love you.
We do.
But I think the better word is starting to look for respect, because you want to be respected or liked. Yeah. They're quite different. So And you don't have to be a horrible person. You can still be liked, but also
demand the respect that you
Yeah.
deserve.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Right.
That is a very good
Done my
respect
job, yeah.
over like.
Yeah.
And team, I've got something very exciting to discuss. I want to pop into the table and get it right. We have a brand new Miss Monopoly game, and we are actually giving this away. But we're going to discuss it first. This is
wow.
Monopoly, but instead of
I
being
love it.
Mr. Monopoly, it is Miss Monopoly, and it's just come out now. And it is the first game, as it says on the box, where women make more than men. So this is
just
kind
like
of, it's
real
quite
life.
controversial. So this has been quite controversial. It's actually got a lot of internet trolls very angry and
Oh my
upset
gosh.
because women do
Crazy.
get $250 in Start Go and men only get $200.
Oh.
So what do we think? What do we think about this concept of this game, Miss Monopoly? What do we think? I played it myself and I loved the game. I thought it was pretty cool. So all the different like instead of having property, you land on inventions created by women.
Nice.
So like
That's so
space
cool.
station batteries, chocolate chip cookies.
I think the thing is, I mean, I love the idea. I think the thing is making sure that men are playing this game, not just women.
Exactly.
Because what we'll find is all women are playing this game and loving it, but it's
together.
like we get the point. We know what's wrong, so we need more men to be playing this game. You know, it's definitely good for conversation, right?
Yeah, it's
I think it's a great idea. I actually really want to play it because I'm obsessed with Monopoly.
You can enter the Facebook
Oh, yeah,
competition.
okay, right. Well, I don't think I'll be winning it.
What do we think? What do you think?
I think
Can you play this game?
I think it's good because it gives men a bit of an insight into, you know, women are marginalised. We often earn less than men, like for the same jobs, like just for rugby players or sports in general. Women's sport players, they often get paid a lot less than their male counterparts. So, yeah, I reckon this is a eye-opening game, and I think men should get behind it and they should play it because then they can
Understand? Yeah.
No, I think it's sending a really important message for some people. They might not know even of the inventions that women have come up with, like they may not even know the inequalities that are present right in front of them. And it's important to highlight that, even if it's like through a game, which is a good way.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is I actually think there's still a lot of ignorance
Yeah,
around it. It's kind of
exactly.
people are going, yeah, but that's not actually right
Yeah.
because da-da-da. It's like, well, it is a fact.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the first thing is to get people to recognize it. You know, and you can't action something if you don't even acknowledge it, right? Yeah.
And the first version of Monopoly was created by a woman, so that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
And I think I'm excited by it. I had a lot of fun. I played it with my boyfriend. I still bet him, but I would have bet him even if I didn't get paid
Can
more.
we play this after before?
Can we
someone
play
wins
this after?
it?
I
Yeah.
know. We've got 5 to away on the Facebook page. You can enter
Yeah.
along with anyone else. I'm not
The next
breaking it for
episode
you.
can just be us playing that game.
And on the note of the next episode, so we are going to be doing another one of these episodes. So what I really want us to do is, if you've got any questions, please do send them through to the GirlBoss Show, comment them below, and we can answer them at the next session. So I'd just like to give a big thank you to my wonderful guest today, and I hope we all have a great day. And I just want to end with one word that's going to guide you in 2020. Let's do quick fire. Who wants to start? One word that's guiding you in 2020.
I can start.
Yes.
Adventure.
Adventure. Love it. Simone?
dedication.
Dedication.
Focus.
Focus. Dedication, adventure, and focus. That is the words. And please remember to put through your questions. Thank you so much.